Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the strategy room. Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus is speaking out after Donald Trump accused the RNC of hurting his campaign by giving out too many GOP debate tickets to donors. Trump says the RNC is not honoring its end of the loyalty pledge the candidate signed back in September. And he again raised the threat of mounting an independent bid for the White House. But Priebus says he's not worried. Let's take a listen to the chairman last night on the record.
But, the issue with the pledge is simply that if you're going to run as a Republican and avail yourself of the process, come to the convention, you ought to be able to say, I'm going to support the Republican Party. That's what the pledge says. So all the candidates agree to that. I expect all the candidates to continue to agree to that, and I'm not worried about this at all.
Joining us now from D.C. are Democratic strategist Joe Listingi and Republican strategist Amos Snead. Welcome to both of you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right, let's look at the potential impact here. A public policy polling survey found that Hillary Clinton would lose to Marco Rubio by 7 points in the general election. He would be her strongest opponent. But if Trump runs as an independent, that same poll shows Hillary beating Rubio by 6 points, with Trump taking 23%, mainly from Rubio. Amos, is Reince Priebus right not to be worried?
Yeah, I don't think he can really worry about that. Look, Donald Trump is the biggest fan of the Donald Trump show. So, of course, he's going to push back and say, I don't want to share the stage. I want to have my own debate. But I don't think it's something he should worry about or the RNC is actually that concerned about.
All right. Well, the RNC also is maintaining that it absolutely has not been stacking debate audiences with donors. Donald Trump is lobbing that accusation after he was booed during the last two GOP debates. Joe, so you do believe that these booers are donors to other campaigns or just members of the general audience?
Well, often these debates are filled with party supporters, donors, or activists from the local area, and even some national bigwigs are brought in. But I'll say this. Donald Trump shouldn't look at these guys as enemies. Every time he's booed on that stage, he actually, I think I see his numbers tick up. He is an anti-Republican establishment candidate, and this just further increases that narrative. So as long as he continues to claim that the people in the audience are the establishment who aren't happy with him because he's rocking the boat and he's shaking up the system, then that's good for him because that's the image he needs to portray to every voter that's on the other side of the screen and not in that room. So actually, he's playing his narrative out very well here.
Well, he's certainly polling well right now in South Carolina. The poll that I mentioned earlier also shows Ted Cruz beating Hillary Clinton by a smaller margin than Rubio, but he also loses if Trump runs as an independent. Amos, Reince Priebus is banking on this idea that they're all going to honor the pledge, but as you know, the pledge is non-binding. Is there a chance of Trump breaking the pledge?
Oh, I think there's absolutely a chance that Trump could break this pledge. I mean, I remember when he signed it, everybody looked at it and said, okay, is he really going to support the Republican nominee if it's not him?
Right.
But, I don't think we can predict any of this, especially, when you're dealing with Donald Trump.
Yeah. And meanwhile, there's another name being thrown around as a possible third-party candidate, and that is Michael Bloomberg. He's the former mayor of New York City. How could that divide the vote? Joe, what if you have this scenario where you have Bloomberg and Trump running as independents?
I mean, what a fascinating race. I mean, we haven't seen anything like that since Ross Perot, really. I mean, Nader had some influences. We could go back to the Florida 2000 race, but the truth is that Ross Perot was the last third-party candidate to really make a big push. And here's what matters. We're quoting national polls right now, but it all comes down to those that little electoral college, right? So it's all about the states. And Bloomberg and Trump would have major pull in the Northeast, and that could hurt Democrats there. Trump's got some pull down south with disenchanted non-establishment Republicans, and that could hurt Republicans down there. I mean, this would be one of the races for the ages if we had four viable candidates. Could you imagine that debate stage? It would be unbelievable. The other question would be this. If it's Trump and Bloomberg and Clinton, then who's the Republican nominee? I mean, it's almost like someone who is unknown and unnamed to the country right now could be your president. And that is what makes my job and this business so much fun.
It is. It's a very exciting time to be in the media, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Amos, Joe raises an important point, though, about the Electoral College. Christian Science Monitor said, look, third-party candidates, you've got to remember that, unfortunately, like, your votes don't necessarily count on an individual basis. It's all about the Electoral College, and it's like it works against independent candidates, and that it's just not going to happen for that reason. What about that?
Yeah, I think if you look at that, and if you actually look at Bloomberg, who has been reported to, have his team exploring options and avenues for him, I think we're going to have about a month of that, because if you look at timing, he's going to have to make a decision early to mid-March. So I think we're going to hear a lot of speculation, especially if we continue to see Donald Trump pulling as well as he is through all these primary states. So, yeah, you bring up a really good point. I think that's why we'll have a conclusion about Bloomberg probably within about the next month and a half.
Yeah, here in New York City, where I live, Bloomberg, obviously well known, did a lot of great things for the city, but very controversial. When you ask people nationwide, what do you know about Bloomberg? They're like, oh, he was the one who wanted to ban giant sodas. What do you think, Joe, about his perception nationwide?
I totally forgot about the giant soda thing. What I associate him with is Everytown, which is an anti-gun group. They're a gun control group that's actually very active in my home state in Virginia, and they've been around in a lot of state elections, like in Colorado, where guns is a big issue, which would be, if I had to guess, his calling card. That would be what he would run on. I think you would see a big anti-Bloomberg sort of sentiment in the South, where guns are very much part of culture, and the same thing out West. And that's what he would run on, and he would make sure everyone knew that. Most people don't know Everytown, but you've probably seen them when there have been elections in your home state. And I think that's what he would use to be his moniker. The question is then he becomes a single-issue candidate, and that's not going to win the presidency. And you're right. The Electoral College is actually specifically built to sort of crush third-party candidates and not give them an opportunity to compete. It makes it a two-party system because it's winner-take-all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, Joe, Amos, thank you both as always.
Thanks for having us.
And for complete coverage of the 2016 presidential race, and it's a crazy one, go to foxnews.com. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.